Hey everyone, welcome back. We are going to try again, having some technical difficulties with the sound of these recordings. So we're going to try to come up with a quality video here that talks about a circle. So first of all, we want to see how circles fit into our conics. So let's go with our nice conic over here. And the other day we talked about how conic sections are developed from the intersection of a plane with our conic. So right there I've got a plane intersecting my cone, and if that intersects perpendicular, or if that plane is perpendicular to the line that goes through the center of my two cones, my axis of that conic, I should end up with an intersection that is, in fact, we're drawing 3 dimensions in a 2-dimensional space, but I should end up with the intersection that's a circle. So first thing I want to do is we want to talk about, well, what is a cone, or what is a circle? So I want to think back to what you talked about in geometry, and you probably had a definition that was something along the lines of a circle is a collection of points in a plane that are equidistant, meaning the same distance, from a given center point. And that center point, that word center, is really optional, but I like to leave it in there because then it really implies to us what that point is. So what that looks like, what it breaks down to, is somebody gives us a point, and they give us a distance away from that point, and if I rotate that distance all the way around, I end up with the collection of points that are all that same distance from my center point, which means that I have a circle. So that is what the definition of a circle is. Now we want to use that definition and our distance formula to try to find an equation for the circle centered at 2, 1 with a radius of 3. So thinking back, distance formula, that was x1 minus x2, that quantity squared, plus y1 minus y2, that quantity squared. That would be the distance between 2 points. Now, I know that my center point is going to be one of those 2 points, but my other point that I want to find the distance from is going to be some point on the circle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let x comma y be some point on my circle. So I want to use my distance formula to find the distance between x comma y and my center. And if I do things correctly, that should be equal to the distance from my center point to my point on my circle, or, well, that's the radius. Okay, so it looks like I've got everything in order here. Make things a little bit simpler. I'm just going to square both sides to get rid of that radical, and I end up with x minus 2 quantity squared plus y minus 1 quantity squared equals 9. And that is, in fact, already, a lot simpler than with parabolas, that's already our standard form of a circle. Now I'm going to write it in general without numbers filled in. X minus h, that quantity squared, plus y minus k, that quantity squared, equals, and I'm going to put over there r squared. So of course r is our radius, and the h and the k tell us where our center of our circle is. And that's really all there is to the standard form of a circle, finding the equation of a circle from a given point and the radius. And now let's go ahead and let's use that in reverse. So here I've got an equation for a circle. I want to know what the center is and the radius, because that was going to actually help me graph that circle. We're going to graph in a different video, but I want to at least find those pieces right now. So I'm going to start with the radius right here. I know that from my standard form of my equation, that's r squared. So r squared is 4. Well, I want to get r by itself, so I square root of both sides. Normally when we put the square root in, we'd want to put a plus or minus, but we're talking about radius, we're talking about a length. So I only want the positive value because lengths can only be positive, so it looks like our radius is 2. Over here I'm going to pick out the h, because remember it's x minus h, so h equals 5. And this is going to be y minus k, so I'm going to pick out the k. K is going to equal 2, which means that my center point is 5 comma 2. And we're set. We would be ready to graph that equation.